Hey, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. By doing so, you're either considering water baptism or just curious about what this all means. Either way, we're glad you're here. Baptism is really a big step in your faith journey. It's a moment where you publicly say, I belong to Jesus. But what does that actually mean and why do we do it? I want to break that down a little bit further for you. Well, first and foremost, baptism is all about Jesus. Matthew 28:19 says this, "Go and make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." And so baptism is an outward sign of something that's already happened on the inside. It symbolizes leaving behind the old life and stepping into the new life that Jesus gives. Think of it like a wedding ring. It doesn't make you married, but it tells the world that you are. One of the common questions that I get is this: why do we actually go underwater? And that's a great question. First, Jesus was baptized himself, and throughout the New Testament, we see it done this way where people go underwater. Baptism is what happens to us spiritually. Going under the water, it represents dying to sin just like Jesus died for us. And then coming up out of the water, it symbolizes being raised to new life just like Jesus rose again. Paul actually puts it this way in Romans 6:4. He says that we were buried with him through baptism into death, so that just as Christ was raised from the dead, we too may live a new life. So with that said, who can be baptized? Well, the short answer is anyone who has put their faith in Jesus. The only requirement for baptism is believing in him. And so if you've made the decision to follow Jesus and you want to take this next step, that means you're ready. Again, this is what we see in the New Testament. One example comes from Acts 8:36, where Philip, he meets this Ethiopian man who has just learned about Jesus. The man sees water and says, "Look, here's water. Why should I be baptized?" And right then, in that moment, Philip baptizes him on the spot. Now, depending on your background, you might be wondering about babies being baptized. At Bethel, we don't baptize infants because we actually believe this is a personal decision. Instead, we encourage parents to dedicate their children to God, just like we see in the Bible. And so when a child is old enough to understand what it means to follow Jesus and they personally choose to be baptized, we celebrate that moment with them. Now, if you were baptized as a baby or at a time when you didn't fully understand what it meant, you may be wondering if you should be baptized again. Well, here's the thing, the Bible only requires one baptism, but many people choose to be baptized again as a personal recommitment to their faith. And so if you feel like this is a fresh start in your relationship with Jesus, we'd love to celebrate that with you. And here's really the last big question I get asked about: does baptism save me? The answer to that is no. Only Jesus saves us. Baptism is important, but it's not what makes us right with God. Faith in Jesus does that. Ephesians 2:8 says, "For it is by grace that you have been saved through faith. And this is not for yourselves or from yourselves, it is the gift of God." Think of it this way. Baptism doesn't make you a Christian, just like wearing a jersey doesn't make you a player on a team. It's just the public way of showing that you're already a believer and you belong to Jesus. So if you're ready to take the step to be baptized, that's awesome. We would love to celebrate that step with you. Signing up is really simple. Just fill out the form on this page and we'll reach out to you with the next step. We're so excited for you and we can't wait to see what God does in your life through this step of faith.